think that's where a lot of people go bad with a pup. They throw them in a pen and just throw feed to them every day. And to me, you got to make a connection with them. Some guys don't agree with me on that, but I think you got to have a good bond with a dog.
It's real simple, I think, with a pup, and a lot of people don't understand it. When a pup is ready to start, it will start. You can't force a pup to start, and you can't force a pup to tree. It has to do it on its own.
All right, so I'm sitting here with Scott Engle. You just want to start off by kind of introducing yourself and tell us how you got into coon hunting?
Sure. My name is Scott Engle. I'm from Hillsboro, Ohio. I got 2 kids, Oakley and Brantley, a wife, Erica, and we raise coon hounds, you know, and this is kind of a lifestyle. So it started about 8 years old. I hunted around home there, and my grandpa hunted the hard time line of English dogs, and that's kind of where we got our start at was the local coon club, Owensville, Ohio, and my grandpa.
And you said you started with English dogs. Did you start competition hunting, pleasure hunting them, or?
We pleasure hunted them, probably several years, and then I wanted to try a competition hunt, and we went to the club and hunted in a competition hunt.
Did your family competition hunt at all, or is that just something that you wanted to get into?
Nope, my grandpa never hunted in no hunts. They didn't believe in it, you know. They just liked to coon hunt, but all my dad's friends and my grandpa's friends, they all, you know, was in the competition world, and the hard time line of English dogs was right there around home.
Yeah.
So, you know, guys like Calvin Hayes, and he was like the icon when I grew up. Calvin was. He was the great coon hunter. He had a hard time spec along with Ed Bates.
Yeah.
Which won the World Hunt, so that gets plenty of publicity around a hometown.
Yeah, all those people you mentioned are pretty well known. When you first started competition hunting, did they kind of show you how it worked, or did you just go and learn as you went, or how did you?
Definitely just learn as I went. Nobody really ever shows you. Nobody ever really tells you. I think this thing's one of them. You just kind of learn on your way.
Yeah, something you got to experience. I guess even if people would kind of walk you through it and how it works, like there's so many different situations and scenarios that come up that until you experience it in the moment, you kind of, I don't do it a lot, but just what I've been around, you have to be able to think on your feet in that moment as something happens. And it's a lot of experience. And how long have you been competition hunting then?
So that was 8. You know, I'm 43 now, so
you got the experience
most of my life. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I still think these things change daily, and what happens out here. This ain't. I try to tell everybody, this ain't like NASCAR where you can measure the rear spoiler, you know, to see how it works. Everything's so different.
Yeah.
In this industry, you know, it changes. There's never the same thing happens twice, seems like.
I guess that's another good question to lead into. What are some of the biggest changes you've seen over the years then with competition hunting?
Well, the biggest changes probably would have to be like definitely the lights going to your head and no battery pack, the Garmin's.
Yeah.
You know, I was around in the beep beep days
mm-hmm.
where you didn't use them. But far as the construction of a hunt and what a dog needs to do, I don't see we're a big bunch off. You know, that goalpost hadn't moved. We're still trying to find the one that trees the most coons.
Since the beginning of competition coon hunting, that's always been the most important thing, and I try and say that as much as I can because a lot of people get caught up in how a dog trees and so many different things, but like at the end of the day, like it needs to consistently tree coon. Like that's probably the most important thing you need to focus on.
Yeah, that's the main thing, and I think we've kept the rules have stayed pretty much the same. The only thing that may have changed is when I grew up, it was hunting judge or non-hunting judges, in the big hunts, and I enjoy that because I don't enjoy judging myself.
Yeah.
When I'm out there, that's probably changed the aspect of the hunts, the 90 minutes, and come the weeknight hunts. That was a game changer, and I don't know if that was a good one or not, but we got it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
over the years, has there been a registry that you've really favored?
Man, I've always been a PKC hunter, and I led the PKC youth race when maybe 98. My last year there, that's been my primary, where I always enjoyed hunting, not taking anything away from the rest. They was always money, and not that that's everything, but when you're a kid and that's what you're hunting for, you want to hunt for money.
Yep.
And I so enjoy. We won the AKC World Hunt with Beller's Gabby when it paid $30,000, and we won the CHKC World Hunt when it paid $40,000 with Mason, and we won it with Dark, and then we won the UKC World Hunt with Rodeo. So, and that was probably I still think that was one of my biggest wins, was the UKC World Hunt. It was it felt big.
Yeah.
So I enjoy them all and respect them all. And now this pro sport thing's come along, so we've tried to just make it the highest tier we could.
Yeah. It seems to be that way. There's a reason why all the top people compete in it. I assume it's the most consistent, highest paying out event. Like, there's other registries have events that are similar in size, but they only do it maybe once a year.
Yeah.
And pro sport has, if you win just one of their hunts, it's going to be a pretty big payout or pretty big prize.
It's a big stage and a big title. I mean, just winning a truck that we give away basically once a month. That let me tell you, they ain't easy. These guys that come to them ain't easy. It's the top of the line.
Is there any advice you might give a new person or like a kid that's looking to get into competition coon hunting?
I would say I'm a big guy that you gotta, as far as the competition, and you gotta love it. You gotta want to go out there not just to hunt in a competition hunt. You've got to want to train a pup. You've got to want to put the time into that young dog and understand what a dog's doing, when it's doing it, and why it's doing what it's doing. So I definitely am in favor of a young man having a pup and starting there. Definitely having the best equipment available to him. And then a good mentor, kind of following the right people.
Pretty sound advice. So going back to kind of when you started competition coon hunting, what was the first dog that you titled out that you were hunting? If you can think.
First dog we really, man, I'm just telling you, as far as when we say titled out, that means UKC Grand Night.
Right.
I don't know if I've ever done one.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if I've ever start to finish done one. The first dog I ever remember pushing and doing very well with was a gold champion named Awesome Ace that we bought from Alan Wilson and Chris Allen. And that's when we led the PKC youth race with. That probably would be my first one that I can remember. But now he was already silver champion. We might have made him a gold.
Yeah. But he's the first one that you really pushed hard.
First one we pushed hard, yeah. Yeah, maybe. And we didn't even push him hard. I've never been one that I can't push one too hard because I don't go enough.
Yeah.
If I go a couple weekends in a row, that's it for me. And we won the national male race with Mason, PKC national male race. That was a big deal in its day. And that required you going to a lot of hunts because it's open hunts and you're winning $50, $60 at a time. That was a really big deal that, man, takes a lot of time away. So we did run that year, but I had Josh Forsey to help and Joe Gross, and it wasn't just me. I had several other people when I couldn't go would take him.
Yeah, that makes a big difference, because especially when you get a family. Something that isn't talked about a lot, but if you have a family and you're going to be pushing a dog very hard. It's a very hard balance of being gone, because it's not just a weekend. You got to include the travel and then the stay at the hotel, and then, I mean, it eats up like a week it feels like a week of your time every event.
Every time you go. Yeah. And I knew even with Echo here now, he was on a roll there, and man, we need to push him. I'm just not doing it. Like, I'm going to go when I get ready. And
yeah.
I think that's why Randy and I get along so well, is he don't mind it, and I've never burned a dog out. You typically these things will only peak. You'll watch them, and they'll only peak once every now and again, and I've never really just burnt one out.
Yeah.
Where they say they get hunt sour or what have you. I've never done that to one.
And you mentioned Randy. He's your partner on all your dogs?
Yep. Randy and I's partners on everything. Yep. The best I could ever get. He enjoys it. He's not as big on the competition side, but he loves to coon hunt. He goes every night. And you see what kind of bottoms he's got to hunt here. So
yeah.
It'd make you want to go every night. And he likes the young dog aspect of it. And taking them things from, just being okay, and he can really put the polish on one.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got, as far as hunting goes and getting one ready, he's got some of the best you can do it. Because, I mean, there's all sorts of different terrain here, but it's not just the terrain. I mean, there's not the house for, you can just hunt and recast. I said last night, like, if I lived here, I would probably just live out there. I'd just stay out there and keep turning dogs loose and then sleep in a tent or something.
You could if you wanted to. Build fires.
Yeah. That's always, I'll probably have to start doing that every once in a while. That was pretty fun.
It's a ritual. It's a ritual in these bottoms. It's not the Shawneetown bottoms if you don't build a fire.
Yeah. It was a good time. It wasn't too cold, but the rain, it made it. Didn't realize how cold it was until we got by that fire, and that fire felt pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be, we would always pass a bottle of Crown around, about that time. But it seems like with the older we get, the less Crown bottle passing Randy does.
Yeah. Going back to you said Awesome Ace was the first one that you pushed some. Do you want to talk about do you remember what he was out of?
He was out of nothing, really. I mean, I think a pickup truck in West Virginia, he nothing. Because I don't remember us ever even talking about breeding him, anybody ever wanting to breed to him. I know Jerry Watts kind of started him, and Chris Allen done the finish work on him, and Chris had actually done very well with him. He might have led the state with him for a bit there, and he'd done well with him.
So what was the next dog, I guess, you got really going after that one?
So after that, I hunted a little bit for Stanley Nichols, and then I went to hunting for Russ Beller, and that was Beller's Ann, and I hunted them all, for Russell. We won the world hunt with Gabby, hunted for Leon Childers for a stint, Gunsmoke and Harley, Stranger. We done well with them dogs. Second in the pro race, top 8 of the PKC World Hunt, and top 6 of the Super Stakes with a couple of them. Third in the Spring Super Stakes with Stranger. We done good, and then Beller had been to prison for a year over the deer deal, and that's when he got out, and I got Gabby from him. So I hunted for him again, and that's when we won the world hunt with Gabby, and that's where Big D come along. I hunted D there for about a year. We won the pro division with him. We won the pro race with him. We won the pro runoff with him.
Jeez.
I kept D there for quite a while, maybe a year, and his hips, he had hip dysplasia, and I'd kind of decided that I wasn't going to hunt him no more, and I'd been hearing about this young dog, Mojo. That was a year old, so that's where we kind of swapped to Mojo.
Yeah. I guess people probably want to know a little bit about this. What was Big D like in the woods when you were hunting him?
Big D, he definitely beat to his own drum. He was big. He's actually Jack's grandpa, that we hunted, and he's awful big.
He's a nice big hound.
D had a big mouth and super, super good strike dog that that really had a good set of wheels under him, rambled around. Most people didn't understand the ability he had, though, to tree coons. That dude could tree any kind of coon, whether it was in the middle of August or right now in December, you know. He had a good nose on him, and he always had a coon when you got to him. Probably one of my top 2 or 3 that you know when you get there, he's got him. We done well with him. After I had give him back to Beller and bought half of Mojo, I tried to get Beller to buy the other half, but he wouldn't. Brian Whitted goes on to win the UKC World Hunt with D. Mm-hmm. So, and that dog was old, and you know, like I said, his hips were kind of out from under him at that time, and he was still that good, but very, very good dog. One of my favorites. Super nice hound. So
going into Mojo then, how did that end up happening, getting Mojo?
We had D at that time, and I had heard from several people about this young dog named Mojo, and you need to look at him, and this thing's nice. And he was off of Harry's Hammer, which was a Harry dog that Dickie Deaton had won the Super Stakes with. And I kind of asked Robert about him and ended up getting half of him bought. Mojo, he was a year old, and maybe a little over a year old. Got half of him bought, and then maybe a year or so later, JC ended up buying the other half, and JC and I was in partners with him till JC passed away.
When you your first time in the woods with Mojo, what was your initial thoughts when you first saw how he was hunting?
I knew he was pretty special. He was a barker, but he kind of danced around you, and he could tree a coon at any point in time he wanted to. You know, he was dangerous at all times. I knew he had a good mouth. He was bred right. He looked good. I mean, he looked like the perfect storm to me, you know. And I've always said it's hard to catch lightning in a bottle, you know. And I think that's what Mojo did. He had a good pedigree. He looked good. He was outstanding as far as treeing coons, and he was able to win. Yeah. And he didn't lose a lot.
How was he bred?
He was off of Harry's Hammer and then Elliot Schuler's J-Lo female. Okay. So Harry on Sackett Junior Rat.
How long was it before you got him until you started pushing him in competition hunts?
The very first time, as soon as I got him, I went to the Jasper Jamboree, which was in Ridgeland, South Carolina, and got in like all 3 nights. That was like the first weekend I had him. Got in like all 3 nights, and the AKC World Hunt was down there maybe the next weekend. We get to the top 16. Should have been in, you know, like took a bad break to not get to the top 4. Yeah. Mojo was built for a coon hunt. He loved it. He wasn't real intrigued by coon hunting by himself. He wouldn't blow you away. You wouldn't go out there and think, wow. Yeah. You know, but when you put 3 dogs on the ground with him, and that's been a pretty much aspect of everything we've had. They're the very best. They're the very best when there's dogs on the ground in competition. Yeah. You know, I never seen Mojo look any better than in a cast, Mason or Rodeo. Them dogs always look their very best in a cast. Yeah.
You want to talk a little bit about what, I guess, the major hunts that you won with Mojo?
So Mojo was a 2-time Super Stake winner, and that was when they only had 2. That didn't happen very often, winning back-to-back Super Stakes. He was a 2-time the Outstanding Purina Dog of the Year, 2-time Triple Crown, UKC Triple Crown winner. I know we won pro hunts with him, and up in the top ranks, you know, doubled up every single world hunt, you know. Mm-hmm. But his career was short. You know, we quit hunting that dog at 3.
Oh, jeez. So, I knew it was early, but I didn't realize it was that early.
Like 3.5. We got 3rd at the pro runoff. He had won about everything we'd put him in up until then, you know. And for a year of that 3, we was breeding him.
Oh, jeez.
So that's a tough toll on one that I probably wouldn't do again if I wanted. You know, I'm either going to hunt it or I'm going to breed it.
Yeah. So when you retired him, was that what your plan is, just to start seeing how he reproduces?
We'd already seen that those
Right,
first
the last-
litter of pups had, we won the baby stakes with Mr. Green. We had one in the finals of the juniors. Billy Williams did from Michigan. He called Butch. We knew he was going to reproduce. Tap was one of them first litters. Mason was one of them first litters. And I hunted with both of them, and I thought, wow, these things are awesome.
The next one was Mason. You said it was out one of his first litters?
Yep, Mojo Mason was actually out of the, I'm going to say the third litter
Okay.
of Mojos.
What female was that with?
Out of Joey Fuller's little female, Tree Talking Crockett female. And Mason come along. Mark Rubel bought Mason from Benny Phipps. And Mark had bought Tap. So he had Tap and Mason, and they were both year old, 15 months old. And that's when I went hunting with them, and we ended up buying Mason, me and Todd Warner. And that dude, went down as one of my all-time favorites. Big mouth, good-looking, red-headed, big motor on him, and could really run a track. And all these dogs are super tree dogs, but he took it to another level. Mason had that big hound sounding mouth.
Mm-hmm. Was there any big differences between Mason and his dad?
Mojo seemed like he could tree more around you and probably tree more different kinds, where Mason would look flashy, being way off and, here or there, boom, treed,
Yeah.
I mean, I want to say he probably looked a little more flashy with it. Mason was a little more dominant, let's say.
Okay. Do you want to talk about some of the hunts you won with Mason?
Mason, okay, so the $40,000 CHKC World Hunt we won with him, that was like the first one that they'd had. We was reserve national champion. That same year we was reserve AKC world champion. We win the first pro hunt that year. We won many pro hunts with Mason. That was, the pro race was big. I know we won the Alabama pro hunt, the South Carolina pro hunt. We had, and then he'd gotten sick with blasto, and we ended up second in the pro race that year. We was national pup leader with him, which was a year-long thing. That year Mojo sired the national pup leader, and the national female leader was Karma, which was out of Mojo. That same year, I think we had, out of Mojo, like 11 out of the 17 semifinalists in the Super Stakes was off of Mojo. So we retired Mason. We run the pro runoff that year, or the pro race that year, and we got done with it. We was reserve, and he'd been sick. He just wasn't the same. We kept trying to hunt him, and I don't know if it was the blasto medicine, the interconazole, or whether it was the blasto, but he could run in there and tree a coon and do good. It was when you recut him, and on that next cut, it was like he wasn't as good as he used to be. Where he was deadly, now it's taking him an extra 5 or 10 minutes, and you just can't do that and win on the big stage,
Yeah. Is that kind of when you started breeding them then, I guess?
Yeah, and we really never bred Mason.
Right.
We never really bred him hard. We had a dog called the Whole 9 Yards off of Mojo and Cadillac Style out of Mojo at that time. We had the dark female that we done very well with. We had Tazzy. I mean, we had several dogs at that time when we had Mason, that when we retired Mason, that we was kind of flopping over to.
Everyone knows the big name ones. Is there any other ones that you had or know of that you really liked but might not be as well known as like Mason or Rodeo or any of those?
No. I think probably my favorite's definitely my favorite one out of Mason was Rodeo. Mason threw several good females, more good females than he did males. Mojo was kind of opposite. I thought his males were better. But there were several good good females out of Mason, and I'm not really a female guy, so I didn't get into them.
Right.
But Rodeo definitely was my favorite male that we had anyway. You know, of course, Mason sired the Thunderbird Goose Dog that wins the PKC World Hunt, and not taking nothing away from him, he was awful good, you know, awfully good too. I didn't get to hunt with him a bunch, but yeah, Rodeo was my favorite.
You want to talk about Rodeo then?
Well, I was glad to get to hunt him last night. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was
he looked pretty good too.
Yeah, he had a ball. He's a crazy rascal. Always has been. Wired, definitely wired differently than most dogs are wired. But he's still the same. He went out of there cackling, you know, and and moving and grooving, and that's kind of how he did. You know, he always did ramble around, and he was Rodeo was a very good mixture between Mason and Mojo. He could go far and tree him, but he didn't have to. And like last night, I think he was 600 yards, you know.
Yeah.
That's kind of close for down here sometimes, you know, when it's like it was last night. He kind of took them as he come to them, and treat any kind of coon. And I think that's why he was probably 600 yards last night, where Jack went through the same woods and probably didn't pick that one up, you know.
Yeah, it was rough. So for him to, because you said that was the first time in 2 years you turned him loose, so he didn't look like it had been 2 years when you turned him loose.
It's been 2 years since I'd hunted him, and he loves that bottom right there. That was his favorite place to ever hunt, and I probably wouldn't have if Maynard and my wife both was like, "You got to turn that dog loose and video him." I'm like, "You guys are crazy." And the more they stayed on me, the more I thought, man, I probably ought to do this, and I'm sure glad I did. Now I'm glad you come down to do it, because he probably is one of my favorites. I'm going to say. I tossed it whether he's my favorite or Mason. I've kind of threw them both into that number one hole before, and but that was sure good getting to hunt him last night. But Rodeo could tree any style of coon, had a good mouth, and of course a super tree dog. He just had that knack about winning. He liked to win, and the more coon, the merrier for him.
Yeah. How do you come about getting him, and how did that journey go from when you got him to pushing him in hunts?
Well, I hear from several people, same deal about like Mojo. I hear several people, hey, you need to check this young dog out of Mason. He's special. And I checked him out, and they didn't want to sell him. John Robertson and Chad Blackwell had him, and they didn't want to sell him. And then one day they called and said, hey, we're going to sell you this dog. And we bought him over the phone. Randy and I did. Randy got him, and he wouldn't hunt him, of course, till I got down. The first night we cut him, I think we killed him about 11 or 12 straight coons. And I told Randy, I said, hey, if this dog can do this tonight, he'll do it again. Like, this is what we needed.
That many times it's not an accident.
This is him. Yeah. And he'd been passed around through, Rodeo had been passed through. It looked like a laundry list on his PKC papers. They'd probably been 10, 15 people in there before us. And I thought, I don't know what these guys didn't see or didn't like, but this is it. And the next night, I think he trees 12, 15 the first night, and the next night 8 or 10, and the next night 8 or 10. I thought, I told Randy, I said, we got something here. And it wasn't the very first time we took him to town, He went to work, and you could tell right off the bat he was going to be good.
What are some of the big hunts you won with him?
Well, the biggest was the UKC World Hunt in 2020. Winning that was a big feat. We won both South Carolina pro hunts back when the pro hunts were the king. We won the pro race with him. That would have been in 2019. Would have been the pro race. The pro division. We won the pro division with him. We got third in the Super Stakes. Made it to the top 7 of the PKC World Hunt. The year Zach actually beats us with legs. The year legs wins it. Doubled up with him in several of them world hunts, and that probably about rounded us out with him. All these invitationals down here in this bottom right here that you hunted in last night, I don't know. That dog probably won $50,000 in that woods right there.
Yeah.
At just invitational deals, and we would go to a lot of them invitationals at that time. The 3 or 4 they had a year. So yeah, he did well.
What are some of your favorite qualities of him?
I love that action part, that action part in him kind of rambling and then all of a sudden just stopping up treed. That's my kind of dog, I mean, I loved he was one of them you was cocked at all times because you never really knew when. But he was fast and furious. That's the kind of dog that I like, is a fast and furious one. And he was going to make stuff happen. They wasn't going to be a whole bunch of standing around waiting, trailing, that type of thing with rodeo, And the more coons, the merrier for him.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about some of the style differences then between the three? The big three you just talked about, Mojo, Mason, and Rodeo, and if there's anything you didn't like about them or ones that you liked better, I guess some of their traits.
Mason was probably the most stylish. Mojo was probably more of a coon treer, and then blended in between. I think for the style Rodeo he fit well right in between. Far as going deep, and when you get to the south, they're obviously going to have to go deeper. To being able to handle that south, Rodeo handled that well. They all just, I said it with the start of the podcast, this thing's about treeing coons, and people say, well, this or that, or no, it really comes down, I don't care what you strike for. I really don't care, what you do in between. It's really the amount of coons that you, the tree, and all 3 of them was very good coon treeing dogs and had ability to tree any kind, and I think that's important.
Yeah. What are some of the specific traits that you've seen in this line of dogs?
I don't know. Just I guess they're suitable for coon hunts. They're all. It ain't like we got a bunch of good pleasure dogs only. They look the best that they look when the chips are down and you need them to. That's probably my favorite trait of them. They're usable. They're, for the most part of them, they're trainable. A big chunk, like I knew right off the bat, Rodeo's pups are going to be very, very good because a litter of 6 or 8 and a litter of 6 or 8 all ran and treed, so it wasn't like you got, you're just training 1 out of 500, they're, right. They're all usable in somebody's kennel. I'm not telling you they're all great, but they done a good job of putting dogs out there that people could use.
This you can answer as a whole or by individual dog. Have you noticed a certain bloodline that's crossed well with the Mojo line or Rodeo or?
No, I haven't. You think you do, and like the Schooner River, I thought was the thing that crossed the best on Mojo for a bit, and you think you do, and then here comes something else, know. So, I just think good females, those are the ones cross the best.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty simple. We don't breed a handful of good females a year, and neither does nobody else. And that's the ones that'll be the best.
Yeah.
So definitely the more culling and vetting you can do with the female, I think definitely helps. My favorite crosses have always been females that I thought, man, that's a good jip.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about other dogs you've hunted against that you've been really impressed with?
Yep. I've starting off probably as a kid, Hard Time Cody was one that stuck in my mind. Larry Dotson owned him. Yeah, he was an English dog. Still to this day is the very best off-color dog that I can ever recall coming along. And I was a kid, and man, he looked awful good then. I got to believe he would still be okay if we had him now. He was one of my favorite English dogs. Definitely the bad habit dog. Now John will probably disagree with that, but he's one that stuck in my mind. Ronnie Smith, whether Ronnie was hunting him, Jeff Rickless was hunting him, Kramer, John, it didn't really matter. That dog was one that I thought was super, super good and still stands, very, very tall on my list. This last dog that Dustin hunted, Meltdown, that thing done really, really major things. That dog stands out as a great.
I guess, what are some of the biggest things that you look for or see that you might have a really, really good coon dog, but what separates, I guess, the top from just a good coon dog to a top competition dog?
I think their ability to move was what separates just a good one from a great one. It's their ability to be able to move and groove, and then they've got to have that will to want to win.
Yeah.
They've got to want to pull you out when you need it. That in my mind is, like I said, though, with Mojo, with Mason, with Rodeo, I never seen them look no better than in a competition hunt.
Yeah.
That was the very best nights I'd ever seen them. Them dogs wanted to make something happen.
You mentioned that Rodeo's been reproducing pretty good. You want to talk about some of the young dogs that you have off of him? Or I guess it doesn't have to be just ones that you have, or good ones that you know of that are performing well or doing well.
Man, we knew right off the bat he was going to be good. We got Maynard, who just, he just been winning with this Molly female here. They're just getting to that age where they're settling in to be kind of coon doggy, instead of pups. And we seen ours still look like pups some last night, But, oh man, their Crowson was telling me yesterday, and then I seen he got in last night at a big hunt in Oklahoma. He got second with one. He was telling me about his good rodeo pup, and Dwight Newton had one that was special, and Nathan Guthrie and Dale had one over there that was good, that they liked and sold to Billy Bell, and then they had one in the Raven female that was in the finals of the world, top 9 of the world hunt. And so we got Jack, and he's off of a big D female. We've got Dope, Ava, who wins 2 super stakes. That's the best one as far as winning amount wise. I'm sure Ava's the number one rodeo. She's awful good. Catman Dude, I think he's special. He's pretty wild and out there in different ways. He's a wild dog but a big old mouth and huge motor on him. That thing's got a big window for what he can do. The little Bojo dog that Randy hunted last night, that's off of UKC world champion Lila. Lane Denny's got one off of world champion Emmy in rodeo that we call Perfect Timing. Alan Carlson's got one we call Cruel that's off of Lila. And so these young dogs have, man, if I try to remember everybody's, I'll miss them, but
Yeah.
they're plenty.
Is there any dominant traits that you're starting to see that Rodeo's putting in his pups?
Well, they're good strike dogs. They're gonna get open, and they seem to float around well, and they got coons when they tree. That was I knew young. They was wild. They were gamey. They would run anything. They would bark at anything. But also they were natural born tree dogs. But it wasn't like we ever run into anybody and said, man, this one trees too much, or well, this one's a slick tree knit. Nobody ever said that about rodeo pups, and that when they're natural born tree dogs, you would think you would get some of them. These have been pretty level, pretty usable across the board. That's what probably makes them special to me is he's still a guy could go out here, buy a pup, hunt it, and he's going to make something out of it, where so many of these other ones, they never do tree or they never do this or that. These things are all pretty dang trainable. So
is Rodeo probably, when it comes to reproduction, is he probably the one that you like the most?
Yep, I do. I like his pups. I thought his pups were better than Mojo's and better than Mason's, yeah. I thought Mojo's were better than Mason's, but I definitely thought Rodeo's was the best I've had the opportunity to be around.
Yeah. I guess, do you have any females lined up or anything you're going to be breeding him to soon?
Yep, we got. I actually got 2 females there that are young, but they started early out of Echo
Oh.
and Dope. So Dope is back, is off a rodeo, litter mate to Ava. And these 2 pups, I say pups, they're a year old now, 15 months old now. Both them 2 is going to come back to rodeo. I'm pretty fired up about that cross. But we got several females that we will breed to him that's, top of the line that we think we, cross well.
No. You mentioned Echo. You want to talk a little bit about how you came to get him and just kind of share his story a little bit?
Echo. Yep, he was. He's been good to us. He's been a very good one. And we was down here at our invitational hunt. I guess it would be now 3 years ago, and I knew Rodeo and Echo that year. I thought they were the 2 best dogs breathing.
Yeah. And
Doug Jackson had Echo, and I just loved him. Not necessarily my style, but I sure respected him. And he's quiet, on the ground, and he's a mover and a shaker. But anyway, we after that year, Doug had sold him to Kevin Cable, and Doug had done awfully well with the dog. He'd hit some very good licks. Maybe only 1 second. Most of the time when Doug got in, he won first. And this is just at the big level, the high entry fee hunts. So Doug sells him to Cable. Cable can't do much with him. He's just not for him. And Maynard called me one day and said, "Hey, Kevin's gonna sell Echo." And I called Randy, and Randy said, "Well, let's get him. These rodeo pups were too young."
Yeah.
I said, "Well, let's get him. Like, I like that dog, and if he works for Doug Jackson, he'll work for me, because Doug and Junior were like my heroes. Them 2 guys was at the top of the game when I was a kid. And I knew Doug hunted a lot like I did, and liked a dog similar to what I like. So boom, we buy him, and it's been off to the races ever since. He's worked out really, really well.
You want to talk about, I guess, some of the biggest differences between him and your other dogs, and some of the similarities too. Kind of just compare him to.
Definitely the striking is where he comes in different. He's not going to bark on the ground much, and he's a wipeout dog. He's bred to bark. Mm-hmm. But I won the Super Stakes with his daddy, Wipeout Clayton. Calvin Hayes owned him, and Aurora, Kentucky, and I had hunted Clayton for Calvin, and we go down there and just really put on a show down at the Super Stakes, and we win that thing. So that's Echo's daddy. He was quiet too, didn't bark on the ground, which is very untypical of the Wipeout line. Mm-hmm. But Echo moves about as fast as the dog ever has moved, and he is the best finisher that I've ever been around. Like, you let him in the final 4, and that dog is that's when the more rounds consecutively you can hunt, that's where he's going to look the better. And just destroyed some of them final casts. Yeah. Unreal. Like, I've never seen. I brag on Mojo, and I brag on Mason, I brag on Rodeo, and I probably liked a couple of them maybe better than Echo, but because they were more my style, let's say. But none of them could finish the way Echo could finish a cast. Could just destroy a cast in the final round. Normally when you get to a late round, you get out there and you tree a coon or 2 and just kind of fumble around, and it ain't like bam, 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 mm-hmm. bam, bam, bam. Echo can make them late rounds look like you shot him out of a slingshot treeing them. Yeah. And I've not seen one that could do it yet. In his class, I haven't seen that yet, and in those later rounds.
You want to talk about some of those hunts? Because I remember seeing some pretty good, pretty lopsided good scores with him in some final casts. Do you want to talk about some specifics on some of them?
Yeah, sure. I'm not one to run down through cast because I'll never remember how it goes. But I do like the final cast. Doug got second with Echo at our invitational one time. Levi Stevenson beat him with Willie. He got second. That was the only second that Echo had ever got. It was always first when they hunted it off for placement. He'd always won first. And up until I get fourth at our invitational this year, I got second with Echo at the AKC World Hunt the year Phrogger wins. That was the only time when we was hunting for placement and money.
Yeah.
Placement. That was the only second Echo had ever had. He'd always been first. So he just had a very good, you might not win the first round with him. That was the toughest rounds, the first rounds with Echo. But once it got kind of rolling through there, down to the nut cutting, that dude's awful good. Man, he's been good to me, been good to my family. He's got a good mouth. Always going to have a coon. If he misses it, don't worry, because he didn't mean to. I've seen him miss coons, but he's trying to wind them, and just be a tree over or something, the wind blowing the wrong way. Cost me cast. It's cost me a couple times of getting to the final cast where he had just winded and missed one, but the big dog's loaded with ability. His pups look like they're promising. I mean, I know John Strickland just buys one called Ego that he's hitting pretty hard on. John Colson's got one. He's been hunting. These pups look like they're gonna. I've got a couple young ones off of rodeo females that I like awful well. He's been a good addition, and I think he'll put some size into what we have. I wanted to get ours a little bit bigger, and he's got that bird dog nose to him. Echo does, it seems to me, So definitely looking forward to some pups off of him. But all in all, that dude, I think we was almost at 500,000.
Jeez. That's
about a year
crazy.
And a half with him.
And a truck. Or multiple. How many?
Yeah, 2 trucks.
2 trucks?
Yeah, 2 trucks. 2 of them $100,000 jobs.
Yeah. That's pretty impressive. And you said he's 8 years old now?
Yep, he turned 8 in October.
Yeah, and he moved good last night. He looked good.
Yeah, he's a young 8. He's still got good wheels under him. Eyes are clean and clear, and looks like he's, if his mouth will hold up. When you get to be that age, you worry a little bit. Even rodeo last night, I noticed his mouth wasn't quite where it used to be, but Echo's been way special, and I think he'll continue to do good things for us, whether it be hunting or in the stud pen.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if you start breeding him to some of your Mojo line females. Just talking about the different, like the style that you like and sort of the traits of both of them. It'll be interesting to see kind of what you get out of it, because in my opinion, anytime you breed quality to quality, you're more likely to get quality.
Yeah.
And if Echo is not even your type of dog necessarily, like your style, like 100%, but you like him, that's a good test of how good of a coon dog he is. Like,
yeah, he'll make you your style, right?
Yeah.
Type of deal.
Yeah, those are the ones that impress me the most, that maybe it's a different breed that you don't really care for, but you're like, man, I'd like to have that dog. Or I guess they win you over. Those are some pretty special ones. So it'll be neat to see kind of what you get out of some of those crosses. Do you have anything bred currently, or anything people should know about that you're going to be breeding him to?
Man, I don't have anything, and I've really fought with breeding him, because I realize when we breed him, it's probably over in the hunts, So I have fought with this, but at some point I'm going to have to say, okay, we're going to breed you Echo, and we're going to hunt these young rodeos, or it won't get done, because every time you get ready to go to the hunt, you always grab the old commander,
Old reliable.
Yeah, old reliable. And that holds so true. I'm going to say we'll probably be breeding Ava.
No.
which is a 2-time Super Stake winner.
Yeah.
Ava was out of Rodeo, and Adele was out of 9. 9 was a 2-time Super Stake winner. So we got Mojo, 2-time Super Stake winner, 9, 2-time Super Stake winner, Ava, 2-time Super Stake winner. I would imagine that's what we'll be breeding her to. Coming up, if I can talk Randy into doing it anyway. Yeah, we'll have several.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good plan. There's a lot of success. Anytime you can get success with success, it's not guaranteed, but you're a lot closer to being guaranteed than just kind of guessing and seeing what works.
Yeah.
You mentioned Wipeout Clayton. Is there any other dogs that we haven't talked about throughout the years that you really enjoyed hunting in the hunts, I guess?
Yep, we the Gunsmoke dog. I sure enjoyed him. Leon Childers owned him from Fairborn, Ohio. I enjoyed Gunsmoke a lot. The Red-Headed Stranger. He was a brother, but a younger litter. That dog was awfully good. You know, Beller's dogs, Ann and Hitler and Old Can Harry and Maud, Jukebox Maud, one of my favorite females I ever hunted. They was all good. I guess I've never, though, you know, when it's yours, you enjoy hunting them more. So I've always enjoyed hunting my stock and my own dogs, and it just... The Hustler dog we hunted, Randy and I had here a couple years ago. We was second in the pro race with him. Won several invitationals and done well with Hustler. I really like that dog. And I guess one that died early on us that I need to mention was the Dark Side female.
Yeah.
That was off of Doug Jackson's Slim dog, or out of Mojo and Out of Pocket. That was off of Mojo. And Out of Pocket. Pocket was a female that won the Super Stakes. I really liked the Dark Side female. That was one of my favorite dogs to hunt all time, and definitely my favorite female.
Yeah.
And shortly after we win the CHKC World Hunt with her, she dies. Yeah, that was a hard lick, but she needs mention. She's worthy.
Yeah. You want to talk about kind of her style and just her story a little bit?
She didn't bark much on the ground.
Really?
You know, fast and furious around you, squirrel dog type of female.
Mm-hmm.
And we bred her to Doug Jackson's Slim dog, and that's where like Moon come and After Dark and Dark 30, that bunch of dogs, that's where they come from, was off of her. She was fast, definitely squirrel dog type, you know, could tree a coon quick, really quick locator from the ground up. You would get some 100 strikes, but it was because she was in there almost treed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you're striking and treeing at the same time.
Yeah.
But good mouth, super good mouth. And she was off a couple of Super Stakes champions.
Yeah. You'd mentioned Pro Sporter. You want to talk a little bit about that? Because I feel like we should probably discuss that some too.
Sure.
You want to just, I guess, for people, most people that listen to this will know what Pro Sport is, but you just want to talk about kind of how that came about and I guess how it started.
So we had talked, me, Greg, and Levi Stevenson had talked about doing a truck hunt. You know, let's do this one weekend hunt for a truck. And the more we talked about it, I told them, I said, hey, we need to come up with a name, you know, other than just the Ford Series truck hunt, because this thing might go. Mm-hmm. And Levi had always wanted to own a registry. He had made mention of that. Greg was heavy into the squirrel dog stuff, so he had a lot of ties to registries and things like mm-hmm. that. And I kind of come up with the Pro Sport name. We kind of kicked it around and said, we're going to do this. And so it was 3 guys that wanted to put on a quality hunt and be over in a weekend. Because we talked about there's only so many weekends you can do. Like, we wanted this thing you get there on Friday and Saturday night, late, somebody's going home with a brand new truck instead of having to run
Right.
all over Hades for a month, Yeah. So that's where this started, and it's just evolved into us putting everything we got into making the best hunts for the hunter that we can. And I know that we're not always going to please everybody, but I challenge you. This thing's tough to do, and keep everybody happy, and keep the best judges, keep the best guides. And if anybody thinks we're not trying to hold these in the best place, they're crazy. The very best places that we can ever have a coon hunt, and the very best judging, with the best dogs and the most, the guys with the most integrity. I think, man, that's where good hunts are made, and that's what we've tried to. That's what we've tried to do, and it's went well. It's evolved into we're giving away a truck a month, basically.
Mm-hmm. When's the next one coming up?
We go to Ridgeland, South Carolina next weekend.
Yeah.
One of my favorites. That was the last year I was in the finals there. I think we treed like 12 or 15 coons. Jeez. Me and Mike Carroll, and Strickland won it with Apolo and Timmy Waters. We had a shootout of a cast. So it's down where the weather's warm, mm-hmm. and just super, super good coon hunting, plantation coon hunting. I really look forward to Ridgeland, South Carolina.
Yeah.
The good part about this is it's toward the coast, so mm-hmm. it's flat and it's clean woods for the most part.
Yeah.
Most casts will be in big flat golf course looking coon hunting.
Jeez.
Some of the most prettiest coon hunting I've ever been in.
What are some of the biggest payouts that you've given out? Because you've mentioned trucks, and some of those trucks are, the trucks aren't cheap, especially nowadays. They're close to $100,000. But
yeah, trucks aren't cheap. These ones we're giving away are.
Yeah, it's not just like a base model.
No, they're $40,000 trucks to start with. The Truck Echo one was John had come up with it's stickered at 92.
Yeah,
the Black Widow. Yeah, we've tried to give away a prize that somebody would keep, because so many times you win the money and then you spend the money and the prize is gone, the money's gone. And so we tried to give away a prize that somebody would keep and say, hey, I'm going to hunt out of this, and use it, or I'm giving it to my wife. But our biggest payouts are the 100,000. We've done a couple of the swag 50,000s. Of course, we've done the Black Widow at 92. And realistically, month by month, the $40,000, $41,000, small pickup truck, Toyotas normally, or we've done several Fords. Yeah, so the payouts are good. Our smallest payouts are some of the shootouts, and they're becoming very, very popular. $300 shootouts that's paying $2,000 to win, or the 500 that's paying $4,000 to win.
That's pretty good.
One night. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
And they're definitely legit. That's a good night,
Yeah.
So those things are going crazy. Greg's come up with a new 48 dog that he's wanting to come out with here. $1,000 entry. That'll be cool to see. And we need to get our schedule together here, and I'm sure Greg pretty much has it put together for the rest of the year. Yep, I think we got a 4-wheeler hunt here in February. A youth giving a 4-wheeler away for a youth hunt.
Yeah.
In Alabama, we're doing that in February. We definitely want to do more of them. This youth thing is really coming along well. I think it's going to be big. It's going to be very big, and it's going to be very good for the youth. I think we can come up with something like we've never seen for the youth.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good format because you have the ability to do that, because there's, like you said, it started with just the idea of giving away a truck at like a big hunt like that. But now, it's like you said, every weekend or every month you're giving away a truck, and it seems like it's probably just going to keep growing and growing as much as you guys can handle. Because
yeah, that's right.
you don't want to have them every too much. You still want to make it to where people can consistently go to them without being there every day of the week.
Yep, we want to make them where it's kind of one stop a month deal, and that way you've got the other time to do whatever you need to,
Yeah. Yeah, especially if they're held different places too. I mean, that's good that it's not just like kind of up where we're at. You're going, like you said, Alabama and South Carolina, kind of all over. That way people have a chance to, if they don't want to travel as far, maybe they can hunt down in the South, or people up north can stay in the North, or vice versa. The one I went to, I mean, there's people from all over the country there too. So, I mean, it's not just like.
Did you go to
the hunter appreciation hunt? The one that was
at the Muddy in Illinois. Yeah, that's a central place. Yeah. Yeah, that's awfully good. That's why we went there. It's some of the best coon hunting around. We go to Oklahoma, Arkansas. We've done them. Yeah, I look forward to the South in the winter and come up north, more towards the summer.
Yeah.
My favorite hunting definitely is in the winter in the South and in the summer in the North.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's just how that goes. And we'll be back to Michigan this year. Definitely a truck hunt in Ohio this year. We're going to put it the best time, the best place that we know how.
Yeah, you have a lot better opportunity to be in good hunting, I guess.
Yep,
what I've seen.
That's what we've hammered out and tried our best to work on, is keeping them where even if you get beat, you say, "Man, I got beat," but heck, we treat 5 coons, we treat 8 coons. We had a heck of a hunt. That's the kind of atmosphere we want. I've never ever had a bad hunt treeing coons. It's always when you don't hear one, and you tree one coon. That's always when you're like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah, that's probably the most common and biggest knock on competition hunting that I've heard is when people travel somewhere, they always complain about the guides. They'll get turned loose into a standing water swamp thicket or something. It's just, but I mean, there's not. You go to a big hunt and there's hundreds and hundreds of dogs there.
It can happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to happen because there's just, unless you're going to travel hours and hours away, like what else are they going to do? Like there's only so many guides, only so many places in the area you can hunt. I mean, it's just kind of, unless you know people in the area, it's just kind of a luck of the draw on the guide you get. But if you have more control over that environment, like you guys are trying to do, and keep it like that, you have better opportunity to have a good outcome for all parties involved. So is there any other events you want to mention? You mentioned kind of that 4-wheeler hunt, and is there anything else coming up this year with Pro Sport that you can share with us?
Well, we need to probably get with everybody's opinion on where to do the nationals or the world hunt, whatever you want to call it, the Grand Slam. I would like to do something like that different, but kind of different to us, But nope, we're gonna do the same thing, and I don't want to speak out of text to where we're going with what. So
All right.
we definitely look forward to South Carolina. We're gonna look forward to Oklahoma, and then I foresee us getting back into Indiana, Ohio.
Yeah. Is there anything that you would like to mention that we haven't talked about, or is there any people you want to thank, or any dogs, or anything that we haven't discussed that you feel that people should know about?
People should know. Definitely thank my mom and my dad for helping me through this whole deal. They've been big supporters. My wife Erica, my 2 kids. Brantley, he loves to coon hunt. In fact, I think he's going to go to South Carolina with me next week. That'll be a treat.
Yeah.
He's 8, going to be 9. My daughter Oakley, she's 13, going to be 14. Now Brantley likes to hunt. She's not no big, they both like to deer hunt and turkey hunt, but Brantley likes to coon hunt. So I foresee him getting involved here. He plays baseball like crazy and football and every sport. So I'm tied up with that a lot of times. And Oakley's into this pig showing and cattle showing and softball and volleyball. And so my time is limited. I try to make them all, but I definitely don't get to hunt like I would like to, pleasure hunting wise. But we're gonna start making a little more time for it. I think this year with these young dogs, kind of got to, because they need hammered. As you've seen, Dude and Jack both need Lord goodness, they need hunted. So yeah, those guys need thanked. Randy. My partner on everything, and Maggie and Cindy, Morgan, they're awesome. Randy loves it, and Cindy, she takes care of the dogs when when he's off. So, and Maggie's there to help in any aspect of it, and she likes to hunt herself in the hunts. So that's pretty cool. I think we had a super good hunt last night. That was pretty neat getting out there with Randy and Maggie. All my friends around home there, they're all supporters and hunters and kind of watch what goes on, and we hope to maybe even bring another mojo or rodeo hunt back to town. We did the mojo hunt for years, and that was just mojo dogs only. Well, I think we're getting to the number of rodeos that we can do that with now. So that'll be fun to do. I sure appreciate you coming down here in your time. Like that was, for you just to say, hey, I'm going to take off and come down. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun. And for me, it's important to me for like a dog like rodeo or any top dog like that. I feel like nowadays, especially, we have the technology to get good pictures and good video. So, you don't have to, it's like I'm sitting at home reading through old magazines. You see a stud ad. This dog does this and is super loud. Well, you can read that, but it's different if you can 30 years from now go back and see and listen to rodeo and actually see you talk about him, the guy that hunts him, see how he hunts, how he sounds. That stuff's important to me. So that I appreciate you letting me come down here and see him go.
Yeah, that probably was my favorite turn loose. And I don't know how long. I was pretty excited. Yeah. Like I was more excited of that, I think, than I was winning a truck. Like I was, and especially when he rambled off in there and he come treed. I thought, holy snot, this thing still does remember This thing still does remember how to tree a coon. It was funny when I was coming down here and somebody had said, well, do you, Randy, do you think you'll tree a coon still or what? And I said, yeah, we'll probably be hunting him in South Carolina next week. It's probably what we want to do. And there was a glimpse of me right there. Said, "Good golly, man! Maybe we ought to saddle this thing back up and go again." He was definitely very fun to hunt, and I could see it like the twinkle in my eye. Boom! All of a sudden, again, like, hey, this thing's still got it. He's pretty cool. To leave out of there like a wild Indian, and go tree a coon, that just tickles me to death. Yeah. So
yeah, he didn't look like he'd been laid up. He looked from the moment you got him out until we got him off the tree, and he was very enjoying it. Very happy doing what he does. You can see that. So do you think you'll turn him loose again?
I don't know. They'll probably say no way. They'll probably say no way. You cannot. That dog's reproducing far too well to hunt. It probably is crazy, but. No, we're not going to. Let's just say that. But it was fun while it lasted anyway. And I'm glad, there's nowhere to advertise now a stud dog, basically. We don't have the American Cooner.
Right.
I guess if you're not on social media, I'm not sure how some of these people that don't have social media even hears.
They don't. If they don't, because that's where, even on the internet, like the internet right now is, it's Facebook and social media. People don't use really forums and stuff like that anymore.
I try to get I try to do a website, and heck, I can't get nobody to do it. So, I don't even have a website. And so I feel like if we don't, there's not much anybody else does either. So I'm so tickled. I was really tickled you to get video footage of him and all these dogs. So, this maybe we can get this out there to some people.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll enjoy it because, like you said, he's a reproducer. He's well known, and now people actually get to see him and hear him. Yeah, and not just see him and hear him, see and hear what he did after not being turned loose in 2 years.
Yep, and 4 or 5 pups.
Yeah,
they get to see off of him. So
yeah. He didn't look like he missed a beat. He looked, he was fired up. Flew in there, and physically, I'm sure you've noticed the difference. But physically, he doesn't look very, very old. He looks.
Him and Echo both look pretty young.
Yeah, they look and act real well.
Yeah, that both them two. I think for right at 8. I think Rodeo's getting ready to turn 8. Echo just turned 8. I think they look like they got some spunk to them.
Yeah. which is good. I mean, you don't, especially if you're going to be trying to breed them, like you don't want to wait until they're old and crippled, and like it's that way they can still have quality life. And I guess if your only thing you're doing is laying around sleeping and reproducing, you'd have a pretty quality life.
You got it all. I still try to keep him in the best shape I can. I run them both.
They're in great shape.
They both get ran 4 out of 7 days a week anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still just keeping them in a little bit of shape.
Yeah. You can tell their coats shine and they're muscled up. They don't look like they're just laying in a pen. You can tell they're well taken care of. Happy dogs.
Those two have been, they're kenneled beside each other, and I think we got a lot to offer.
Yeah.
With them. So.
All right. Well, if you're good and there's nothing else you want to add, I think
I'm good.
It was a pretty good conversation.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yep. Very fun.
All right. Thanks for doing it.
He ended up treeing 7/10 of a mile. Had my light on coming in, and he had another coon, so turned him loose 3 times. He had 3 coons.